So, is your wife still lifting? Geez, you better not step out of line or she'll kill you. My husband's physical safety is apparently a topic of great concern among his colleagues and acquaintances. Just about every time he leaves our house, somebody feels the need to warn him that he's in harm's way. Usually accompanied by awkward laughter, other people want to know, in all seriousness, if he's okay with his wife's lifting habit. He's so bored with these types of questions at this point that his stock response is your wife okay with your crocheting doily habit? Here's the thing though. There is a very simple reason why my husband is 100% on board with being married to a woman who makes a hobby out of picking up the heaviest shit possible and putting it down again. Are you ready? Because lifting weights makes me happy. It has nothing to do with his masculinity or my femininity or lack thereof on either count or anything else related to traditional gender roles. Those stereotypes are tired. We're well into the 21st century at this point, but clearly lots of dudes still define themselves by those poorly drawn lines. Can we talk about how weird and inappropriate it would be to greet most women with, "So your husband is stronger than you, eh? You better not step out of line or he'll break you in half with one hand. Ha!" But the fact is, a happy wife leads to a happy life, and my husband still doesn't take his happy wife for granted. I don't take my happiness for granted either, for that matter. I wasted too many years feeling lost, resentful, and uncomfortable in my own skin to ignore the changes that have happened in the 9 years or so since I got serious about lifting weights. And I know I'm not alone here. So, for everyone who may be feeling a teeny tiny bit concerned about your wives or girlfriends or moms or sisters or daughters who have been seized by the compulsion to chuck their fat loss programs out the window in favor of getting strong as fuck, here's a quick primer on what might happen to the women in your life when they start lifting weights. She'll feel more confident, which is good for her, but also good for everyone around her. A funny thing happens when people get physically strong, something to do with loading up a barbell and then not letting it crush you alive again and again. It gives you the sense that whatever life throws at you, you can handle it. One of my clients has a story that sums this up really nicely. She says, "I used to feel stressed over grocery shopping. I'd worry that I wouldn't be able to get heavy things out of my grocery cart at the checkout line, and I'd have to ask for help. I'd worry about whether or not I'd be able to get the bucket of cat litter from my car into the house, and I'd feel pathetic and stupid for worrying about it. Now I don't even think twice about grabbing that 12-kilogram bucket of cat litter with one hand and the rest of my groceries with the other hand and making one trip into the house." Moral of the story, belief in ourselves goes a long way towards making us better people. When we feel strong and capable and self-reliant, that confidence bleeds into other parts of our lives too, making us calmer, more focused, more productive, and happier. All right, next, she'll lose fat. Remember all the agonizing over trying to be smaller all the time? All the stress and heartache and the diets? I certainly do, and my husband will definitely start twitching uncomfortably if you ask him about all the knots that I have tied myself into in the interest of getting skinnier. Here's the crazy thing. None of the things that I did to myself to get smaller worked very well. Some of them worked over the short term, of course, but the yo-yo string was always there to snap me back the other way. Eventually, I decided that I had given my absolute last fuck about weighing less, and I picked up a sport that I could just do as a big person. And you know what happened? Slowly but surely, the weight came off, and it's still coming off, even though today my body fat percentage is the lowest it's ever been. There are 3 reasons for this. Number 1, if you find something that you love and put everything that you have into being better at it, at some point, you realize that everything that you put into your body will either help your performance or hinder it. Eating for optimal performance will become a labor of love. Bye-bye to all the diets that make you feel mentally and physically shitty. And hello to crushing down lots of good food that makes you feel awesome and strong and healthy. Number 2, it is absolutely impossible to lift literally hundreds of kilos on a regular basis and not see some serious results. Muscle gain, don't worry, number 3 is coming, and fat loss are inevitable. And the 3rd reason, which is arguably the most important one, is stress. You can't hate yourself thin. When you are hell-bent on changing yourself because you don't like yourself the way you are, that stress takes a huge physical toll on your body, and particularly if you're female, your hormones will fight back tooth and nail. I could go on and on about the chemistry that happens during that process, but that's for another post. Suffice it to say that as soon as you chill out and decide that you were just fine the way you are, and then you add a solid strength training program to that mix, good things will happen. All right, number 3, she will not turn into a muscle-bound gorilla. I cannot say this enough. It is a myth that women turn into giant muscly monsters as soon as they start lifting weights. I talk to so many women every damn day who say that they don't want to lift anything too heavy because they don't want to get bulky. Where do I even start? How about this? No one, male or female, grows giant muscles quickly or by accident. No one. You have to put in hundreds of hours of dedicated training specifically for muscle growth in order to get to that brand of huge that comes to mind when people think of strength training, which usually calls to mind mental images of bodybuilders, which is a different sport entirely. Next, the guys who use strength training to get big also have to eat a specific way to accomplish that goal. And if they are eating and training and sleeping with getting big and muscular as the end game, that will happen over the long term because men have the right mix of hormones that make that a possibility. Women do not have that same mix of hormones, which means that even if we did eat, lift, and live specifically to get big, it wouldn't happen the same way. If you're thinking, but what about those hugely muscled women I see on the internet? The answer to that question is most, if not all, of those women are getting some kind of pharmaceutical help on this side, on top of a lot of very, very hard work. Those results don't just happen with strength training a few times a week. Now, if you're eating sensibly to fuel your body and training specifically for strength and you're female, then yes, your lean mass will increase incrementally. If you started out tiny, you will probably grow a little bit. You may notice that you get heavier, but not bigger. This is a good thing. If you started out as a larger person, like yours truly, you might get smaller while your weight stays the same. Today, I'm smaller everywhere than I was 10 years ago when I weighed 15 pounds less. The take-home message here is that the woman in your life will not turn into a monster or a dude or a tree if she dives into strength sports. She will turn into a more awesome version of herself. She will not get hurt. Hang on, let me qualify that statement. Injuries do happen in any sport. It's a risk that's always present. Hell, injuries happen no matter what. If you stay wrapped up in cotton wool all day long because you're afraid of getting hurt, you will end up with pain from not moving, and you won't easily recover from it because you're weak. Fact is, if you have a good coach and a good program, the likelihood of injury in strength training or strength sports is pretty low, lower than most other sports. And if and when you do sustain some minor injury, you recover faster because you're strong and healthy and active. Women in particular are going to reap huge benefits from training for strength because our gender is generally more mobile. Getting strong offers lots of protection from potential and common injuries due to bad posture, overstretching, and whiplash. So people, don't dissuade the women in your life from lifting because you're afraid they might get hurt. Put that energy into helping them find a good coach instead. She will love herself more. I don't have to tell you that this is good for everyone around her too, right? Women who love themselves first are better wives, mothers, girlfriends, friends, etc., etc., and a woman who appreciates her body for all the cool stuff that it can do, and not just for the way it looks, is a much happier and generally more effective at the rest of life because she's not busy beating herself up over her appearance. Because trust me, even the most confident women have moments where they feel not good enough because of their appearance. We're kind of hardwired that way, which is really sad. It's also worth mentioning here that the more women who feel strong, confident, and comfortable in their own skin, the more better role models there are for our daughters. So encourage her to put herself first. You won't regret it. She will still love you. Assuming that you and the female lifter in your life have anything close to a healthy relationship, nothing will change for the worse between you. I say for the worse because yes, things might change when she gets stronger, more confident, happier, and generally more awesome. She might have less time for you because she is spending extra hours in the gym. But hey, you don't need to do everything together, right? Or if you do, maybe you need to get in there and start picking up some heavy stuff too, and that can only be a good thing. But the addition of iron, and I'm not talking about that doohickey that takes the wrinkles out of clothes. What the fuck is that about anyway? To your relationship won't make her love you any less, and your support in her new pursuit will make her love you even more.